KLTV soundcheck, KLTV soundcheck.
Good morning. Welcome to the Tuesday meeting of the BOCC. We have Michael with Calvary Community Church here, going to start us off with an invocation.
Thank you. Heavenly Father, we pray in your Son's glorious name. Lord, we lift our eyes up to you. You are our rock and our salvation, our fortress and our refuge. For our hope is in you. And help us to wait for you in the storms and in the light and the darkness. Let our confidence in you not be shaken with what our heart may feel at this moment or the circumstances that surround us or what is on our mind today. But Lord, let our confidence rest on you, the one who is my rock, the one who will never be shaken. Who is like you, O God? Who else has the words of life, the power and authority? You are the eternal God, and it is in your everlasting arms that we rest. We praise you for your steadfast, loyal love and unparalleled power, which has come forth to redeem us, delivering from the kingdom of darkness to your Son's kingdom of light. May truth and justice be established in our cities and our county, and may your spirit and word bring joy to the people. May your wisdom shine forth today in this body in all its glory, and may we hear from you the words, good and faithful servant. And may you come soon, Lord. We pray all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Yeah.
Want to join me in a flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes of last week.
Move to approve minutes of July 21st through the 23rd.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Anybody, any questions or comments on it? Okay, seeing none, we'll call for a vote. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Run through the consent agenda. First items, we have agreements, contracts, bid awards. We have contract execution with Construction Ahead Inc., DBA Pavement Service Control for the 2025 countywide delineator project. That's the little reflective things you see on the side of the road. Total amount $159,886. This is a federal program, so those funds are coming from the Fed. Solid Waste Management, local waste financial assistance agreement with the Department of Ecology. It's they monitor our plant, our landfill. For the operation and management of hazardous waste and recycling sites, total amount is $482,626. 25% of that is local match, meaning it's 25% of that comes out of our pocket. Interlocal agreement with City of Kalama for public works services and city water main sub-recipient funding and reimbursement associated with South Cloverdale Road and South Cloverdale Road, Confer Road intersection projects. Big project we're working up there. This is a state, there's no additional money to this project. It's just a state driven change. It says where it comes out of. Excuse me. Rescinding resolution number 24-084 and adopting an updated public records policy to reflect changes in county processes. Our public records request is now centralized, or it's been centralized in the commissioner's office, and they continue to work on changing the changes. This one really reflects is retention updates is the big part of that. You have to keep these records for a certain period of time. We tend to never get rid of them, so we're trying to do better about that. Board correspondence, letters, notices. We got a 2026 preliminary budget estimate for Dyking District number 15. Letter dated 7/29/25 to the U.S. Department of Commerce regarding support for the Port of Woodlands Roseway Industrial Project. We sent a letter of support for that. We have two additional letters of support, one to the Honorable Tom Cole, Chairman, Committee of Appropriations, and one to Honorable Rosa DeLauro, Ranking Member, Committee on Appropriations. These were requests from Representative Blusenkamp Perez's office, and I can explain them a little bit. When I was back there, we had a conversation. She wanted to have a conversation on, in 2018, there was a study done. We know we have a sea lion issue that comes up. And so it was to address that. And in that deal, they formed a policy that's called 120F in the act. They've had a growth in sea lions. It's just been pretty much incredible that come up the Columbia River. California sea lions in the Columbia Basin has increased from less than 500 to about 4,000 animals in the last decade. And the Steller sea lion population, which is an eastern stock of Steller sea lions, basically sit at the Bonneville Dam for 11 months out of the year. So 120F set out how you go about euthanizing and trying to keep the populations more in balance so it's not destroying all the salmon. And that's coming up for review. And she wants to have that review primarily because she thinks there's an easier, more humane way of culling the herds. Currently, they trap them, they haul them off to California, and then they euthanize them. And that she just thinks we can do it more efficiently and quicker. Example given, you could sell permits and people go out and harvest and use them for what they want to for a period of time. So that act is coming up for open, and she wants to have that reviewed and try to make that a little more sensible and easier. So that's what those letters were supporting, that idea. Yeah, you sir. Let me get through the last section and then you can ask all the questions you want on it. Okay? Vouchers. Vouchers this last week in the amount of 4,988,425 and 01. And that's consent agenda. Flo, you had a question on it? Come on up.
As you know, I like animals, but this is ridiculous. Why don't they just shoot them? Their meat can go to many of the wild animal refuges that we have. I mean, there's a lot of that can be, the Indians used to use their meat for different products. They will swim back if you take them to California. And all this other is the small percentage you're going to get doing that is going to be very minimal.
Yeah.
I mean, that doesn't solve a problem. And this way, if we just, I hate to say it, but if you euthanize, it's like a wolf. If you leave a dead wolf there, the other wolves go away. And it would be the same with these.
Yeah.
They won't come up the river especially if you do it at the mouth of the river and or try to. I mean, you have to be practical. I mean, I have a bleeding heart too, but it goes just so far. And if they do bypass our river, Columbia River, and go elsewhere, that's just fine. Just got to make sure they don't come here. So
Yeah.
if you review it, does it have to be more lenient or can we be more strict?
Her goal is to make it more lenient.
I'd be on that review.
Huh?
I'd like to join that when they get together to
Well,
discuss this.
the study comes due in August, and the appropriation is for a new study to look at this old way of doing it, see if they can't make it more lenient and easier process, less expensive and easier process. Like I said, maybe sell permits for however many they think they need to do, and let hunters go out and do their thing instead of trapping and hauling off and
Instead of
all
doing the
that.
trapping,
Yeah.
they're more, actually they're for euthanasia instead,
Right.
correct? Is that, oh, okay, then I'm much,
I think this is to increase the removal, right?
Yeah,
Get more animals.
I think
for the river.
Right now, you know,
Okay.
just for, now I'm reading off a study they did that the population of California sea lions on the West Coast has grown from fewer than 75,000 to an estimated 250,000 over the last 30 years. You know, they used to hire, and I don't know what period of time it was, how far ago it was. There used to be a person that they hired that just went up and down the coast, and that's what he did, was keep the herds,
well then,
pods, or whatever they call the
Right.
groups of them.
well, see, it would be very much like the management that Weyerhaeuser does. Right across from GC's on the west side, on the I-5, we used to go up and ride up in those woods, and of course, it's been a couple, 3 years since I've done that, but when the last time we did, we saw a friend hiking, and they said, do you know that this year that they took 17, and they call them sows, that's female bear. They took 17 sows out of, this is where we ride, and we have seen them up there. And they sent a hunter, Weyerhaeuser does, to go and manage the sows. And so they leave, they have a percentage. They know how many, they have a hunter that goes out and they tell them how many they're estimated to be in that area. So why doesn't the state do that? This is the predator as well as the bear is. It'd be a management. And it sounds cruel, but I think you have to manage it. It's like they took, they quit hunting with dogs. And all of a sudden the bear and the cougar population has exploded because they don't have that thing. And so I'm really going for that because I eat salmon.
Yeah. Any other questions, comments on consent? Okay, see none, I entertain a motion.
I move approval of the consent agenda.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Last chance. Okay, call for a vote. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Upcoming things, we have no meeting, no afternoon meeting tomorrow. Commissioner Rader and myself are gone, so no meeting tomorrow. I'll be gone next, Monday and Tuesday. Spend a little time in Idaho. Upcoming events, Monday, August 18th at 11 a.m. We have Janice House in. Janice House is over by the Corners. It's those couple of houses there. They work with teens. They give teens a place to come during the day, and we're gonna learn. That's actually county-owned homes, and we lease that to Janice House for their program with the teens. We have Board of Health today at 10, but also August 28th will be the next Board of Health. And clear in September, we have Southwest Washington Workforce coming in on Tuesday at 10. Anything you gentlemen have before I open this up?
I was just gonna let you guys know, if you remember a while back, we talked about the Washington 250, the birthday of, the 250th birthday of America.
Oh, yeah.
I've been working with Joseph on that, and he's taken that over and he's contacting people throughout the county and the different municipalities to head up different activities and stuff throughout the county for that. So he's gonna be he's our point person for that now.
I think Joseph do a good job with that.
Oh, man.
He's a good one for
He-
that, right?
He's all about that, so that was good. The other thing is, I've been having correspondence with Steve Manlow from the Fish Recovery Board. He watched our meeting with the Department of Ecology, and he asked if he could come in, and Kelly's gonna try and get him on to come talk with us either on a Wednesday or on a Monday. So
He's from where?
the Fish Recovery Board, he's the president.
Oh,
of the
yeah,
Recovery Board.
yeah.
Other than that, I think that's all I got.
What was his name again?
Steve Manlow.
I think people liked that. The last time we had on that, it was kind of eye-opening
Yeah.
for me, how extensive that is. All right. It's your meeting from here on out, so whatever you have. Just make sure is the green light showing bright? Yeah, it is. Okay, perfect.
Good morning, Commission. I'm Neil Crawford from Kelso. The reason I am here today is to get on record some information that I have just learned about here in the last month about the building and planning and permitting. I'm specifically here for parcel number WJ 02140001, which is off of Spirit Lake Highway, just after you leave Castle Rock and start up the hill. A young lady named Megan Hubbard is an adjoining property owner on this. Work started on that piece of property that I just mentioned in, I believe, May. Megan started to contact the county on 6/10. And since then, I've had multiple conversations on her behalf and for the rest of her family that are affected by this. So first I'm gonna pose a question. What's the new permit process for land development? When I talked to Commissioner Dahl a week ago, he stated that all the commissioners felt the same way, that the property owners have a right to use and to develop the property as they see fit, irregardless of permits. Now,
I never
that's a
said
broad.
Irregardless of permits,
that-
let's be honest here. I said, if they're in the process of working with building and planning, we're gonna give them some leeway. I'm not gonna get after them.
But those permits are not complete. They're not
No,
stamped. They're not issued.
they're in the works. You start coming here and say irregardless, that's not true. Let's stick to the facts. And is this property by you?
May I
Is this
finish,
property
please?
by you?
No, it is not.
It is not. So why are we having a problem with it? What, are they infringing on this lady's property?
Can I finish?
If you stick to I'll let you finish.
So the other two commissioners, do you also feel the same way? Do you feel that if I own property, I can go out without permits, start my work, have the county approach me, follow them down here and fill out my permits and turn around and go right back to work with no stop work order? Because building and planning is saying it comes from above, and that's you. I'll let you think on that.
Right.
I personally, myself, have talked to Trevin Bradley, the nuisance abatement, about the permits and the stop work order. I talked to Adam Trimbley, planning manager, who stated the order to not stop work came from above. I also talked to Tracy Jackson. I believe she's the director. I'm not sure. And she said the same thing. That's when I talked to Mr. Dahl, the conversation we had. The way I see this new process, looking from the outside in on what's going on, if I own the property, and I mentioned this downstairs in building and planning, and they said there is no way that they would allow me to do what is happening on this piece of property. So I own the property. I grade and build a road. I damage multiple other adjoining properties trying to find property stakes because they're not easy to see in a wetland. And then I'm contacted by building and planning about the lack of permits, and I follow them down here to the office and I fill out the permits. Nothing said to stop. I go back to work. So to go with that, again, this is off of the county GIS map, parcel number WJ02140001. At the top of that page, when you pull that up and look at the information, you will find in bright red words, proceed to building and planning for a plan clearance review, all in red, for the epic clearance 4, and these are all in red, critical areas. It is a riparian fish-bearing stream. It's a riparian fish, riparian non-fish, deep-seated landslide, potentially unstable slopes at 30 degrees or more, and a mine hazard. Are these just arbitrary things that are put in the GIS map? Or are they there for a reason? I believe they're there for a reason. It's letting the county know that we've got these things in this space and they need to be looked at. To go with that, there are many missing completed permits, including but not limited to. And I just checked downstairs. They said there are a few of these in process. It's always been my understanding that they have to be complete before the work starts. So not all inclusive, but here are some of them. The State Environmental Policy Act, which is RCW Chapter 43.21C, which also, if they found that there was nothing there, would complete a determination of non-significance on the land. It hasn't been done. A critical area, and this is from the Cowlitz County Codes, Chapter 19.15. That's in your laws. RCW 64.12.030 from Washington State, which talks about injury or removing trees and etc., which includes shrubs, brush, doesn't matter what it is. If it's not your property and you damage it, this RCW gives the property owners of those properties the right to take the parties that affected them to court, and the damages, including mental distress, can be valued up to 3 times the settlement amount, and that's timber trespass. Steve and I have talked about timber trespass before. It's not something that building and planning lets people know about. I think you're doing a great injustice because this individual that's doing this work and the landowner and possibly the county are liable for those damages. The damage to the other landowner's property is extensive, including wetlands, trees, vegetation, and the salmon-bearing creek. My question is, how would you feel and how would you handle this situation if this was your property that was trespassed on? Imagine the damage one excavator can do in one day, let alone 40 plus. I yield.
Simple answer, if somebody was damaging my property, bringing their stuff on my property, I'd file suit. It's a civil matter. Wouldn't you?
I'm here to figure out why this contractor has been allowed to set a precedence for the rest of our county in a critical area, a sensitive critical area with a salmon bearing stream that now has smolt in it. He's driving his excavator here, or he has, can't say that he still is. He has driven his excavator across these areas. He's put ruts in the ground where the wetland's at up to 3 feet deep. Now, after the fact, who's going to repair that damage? Who is going to go and physically, because you're building and planning downstairs, as far as I know, in my conversations, has not physically laid eyes on any of this damage, let alone the creek or the area that he has cleared. I mean, there's a lot of more permits that I found, even with the DNR. Have they reclassified the land from timberland to home? I don't believe they have. That needs to be done through the DNR. There are a lot of different things, and Miss Hubbard is working her butt off because of what they've done down there The guy came in with the excavator and took out all the dead trees. Those trees were standing for a reason. They're home to pileated woodpeckers and other birds that use those trees along with the other wildlife that's in the area. Now, Mr. Dahl must think that this is funny. I don't.
I just think that the way you want to control other people's land is humorous to me. I don't know why you think you have, you don't even live by there. If
I'm a
he's
lifetime
building over there,
resident
I
of
have full
Cowlitz
trust
County.
in our building and planning that they're working on this. If he's just building I put pathways through my trees so I can get around my property.
Are these laws not there for a reason? What you're telling me is they're there to be arbitrary. That's exactly what you're telling me.
I'm telling you, I look at laws as guidelines when they turn into abuse. And I'm hearing that we're not really seeing it. Building and planning is on top of what he's doing. I don't even know is he building structures? It sounds to me he's just building access to other parts of his property. Now, if he's crossing the fish-bearing stream, I'm assuming Fish and Wildlife has been called. You called us, I'm sure you called Fish and Wildlife.
I didn't have a need to. The
Okay,
permits start here. This is the county. This is you. This is the county I've lived in for 63 years. And you wonder why I'm concerned. I wish the room was full of contractors so that they could hear what I've got to say. Now it's on record. This is on record. Now the news media can be contacted and anybody else Ms. Hubbard wants to contact can come in here and get this.
absolutely. It's open public meeting.
So I'm going to ask the other two commissioners, do you also feel the same way?
I don't know that I'm understanding everything here, and I don't know what the process is on the permitting if they're crossing fish-bearing stream. I don't know what the process is to stop that. I'd have to,
I just gave you the code, Steve.
well, you're telling me, I understand what you're saying is not supposed to happen, right? And it should be permitted first. I don't know if a piece of property has wetlands on it and if it's got protected streams and those types of things. I guess I don't know how this proceeded. Most definitely, he doesn't have any right to damage somebody else's property. I mean, if he's damaging my property, I would certainly file suit. But nobody's going to give anybody a permit to damage somebody else's property.
The problem still remains. The permits are not, there's not one permit that has been completed, especially the environmental permits. And he's still working.
Are we responsible for environmental permits?
No, that was my next question. Do we do the environmental permit or evaluation here?
I fall into my chair. Good morning, Commissioners. Tracy Jackson, Director of Building and Planning. Yes, we do the permitting here. Not all the permitting will be done within our office. When Mr. Roseland is done with his permitting process, we were informed by neighbors that there was some work being done. We went out, we physically walked the property. We had several people on site that have done their due diligence out in the field. They have worked with Mr. Roseland, and he is working with our department and obtaining the correct permits he needs to continue his work. We are finding his way, his path forward so he can do things correctly. When he does do his SEPA, the State Environmental Checklist, it will be sent to different agencies, and DNR, Department of Ecology, neighboring jurisdictions will have chances to comment, and then those comments will be turned into a report, and then he will abide by, his permit will be conditioned with what their specifications are. He is in the process of everything that he's doing. He did start before he got permits. We don't go around policing other people's properties. We wait until we're notified, or we hope homeowners, like Mr. Crawford has said, come in and do it the correct way. This was done incorrectly, and we're trying to make it right. So we're working with the homeowner and making it right.
So aside from damaging somebody else's property, that to me is a
That's a
separate
civil
issue.
matter. That's a civil matter.
But if a piece of property has protected wetlands or fish-bearing streams,
Mhm.
we've got no way to stop somebody
We
from
do.
just driving through
We
that?
do, and he has stopped working in the creeks. We have stopped him. He is not working in the creeks. He's not doing any of that right now at all. He is finishing his paperwork so we can continue his permitting process
On his own property?
on his own property. And a lot of, just as a general statement, there are a ton of properties in Cowlitz County that have little creeks, streams. Some say fish bearing, some say don't. I can't tell you there's salmon in the creek. I don't know. But I can tell you that there's critical areas on the property and we're working to alleviate those critical areas.
Okay,
He did some excavation and grading work. That's how it all started. So we're working to rectify the situation that was started without a permit. We do this with any homeowner that we find out is working without permits. And he obviously needs permits, so we're working with him.
So pardon my ignorance on this whole process, but why is it that you feel that there should be stop orders issued if he's working with the building and planning department to get these things rectified?
Because there's no eyes on what he's doing. After the fact that he came down here and filled out the permits once he was approached, and I would believe it was in the day or in the neighborhood of 30 days after he'd started the project, the county came out. He came down and filled out the permits the way I understand it. He left them here. He turned around and when he went back, he went right back to work. That's not the way the SEPA is supposed to work. That's not the way the reviews are supposed to work. The reviews are supposed to work so that there are measures put in place to make sure that equipment, oil, anything else doesn't get into the stream. The buffers and the setbacks are there. He should have known where the property lines were without searching for them with a brush hog on the back of an excavator, destroying property and things that were there that is in the epic for the county. So it's basically telling me that even if I applied for a permit, there's no reason for me to wait to do my work. I might as well go ahead and do it because it's easier to ask forgiveness under what's happening here than it is to wait for the process. I mean, the process is not fast. That's for certain, because I've seen this in other places. A good example is Westover Creek. I used to live back out that way when Westover Creek, Oxford Road, and the other road were put in. I was in here every meeting. They had to have their SEPA in place before the work continued or started. They didn't even start building the road until the SEPA was completed and that the determinant non-significance had gone through. And that's because the Wildlife Department had seen steelhead in Westover Creek. So this one has got a lot more red marks on it under the GIS map than a lot of the parcels I've seen. I had no idea that there was an old mine in there. I believe it was a coal mine with the research that I've done somewhere on that property. But the issue remains. Everybody in the county should can put in now, if we follow this as a guideline, put in for their permits and go to work. Doesn't have to be approved because I'm working with the county. That doesn't mean I've got to stop.
Well, I think that, I don't want to speak for you, Tracy, but it's my understanding, based on what you've said, that this gentleman started this work prior to pulling permits. The only reason we knew about it was because somebody called in.
Yeah.
Which is understandable because we don't have eyes on all properties across the county and we rely on the citizens to help us with that. But he came in, applied for the permits, and we're working with him to get the permits taken care of.
That's correct.
And you're saying that we don't have eyes on the property.
He went back to work in a critical area and they know. The building and planning department knows that's a critical area. They didn't issue a stop work order And when I asked about the stop work order, they
Well,
said everybody downstairs said it came from above. And I'm looking at the above. We
And
don't
I'm-
get any higher in the county.
And I think I'm hearing that after this was all set in motion, the building planning in this permitting process basically is restricted where he's working. So he's not driving across the creek anymore. He's not in the wetlands or the restricted area.
That you know of.
Well, okay, I can't live on somebody else's property watching them every day.
Is it proper to do work before I've got a completed permit? That's an easy one to answer. That's a yes or no.
I guess it depends on what the situation is. I don't know that every situation requires that the permit has to be approved prior to commencing work. And I do agree that we don't want to put rock solid guidelines that says you can't do anything on your property.
I didn't ask about that. I asked about the permitting process.
And I'm talking about the permitting process.
Okay, good enough. I'm on the record. That's why I came.
Okay,
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
for your
you.
time.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, this isn't going down good. The reason we have permits is to control bad behavior in land management. Apparently this gentleman, I just have the knowledge that,
Have you gone up and looked at this flow?
just a moment, this is a general,
I know it, but I want to know how you know it's bad management if you've been up and observed it.
I have
You're
observed bad
taking
management.
somebody's word, you could take anybody's word.
Okay, just one moment, Rick, just a second.
Okay.
Okay,
Ju-
let me just finish what I say before you, okay? What I understand about building and planning is that they govern the reasonableness, if that's the word I wanted to use, of doing what's being done to land as you develop it. And if they do not issue a permit, that means that in their knowledge, that land is not suitable for what you're doing. So if you don't have that permit completed and accepted, you should not be doing what you want to do. It might not be a feasible thing. It might be very destructive.
So you believe everything that comes down from the state and stuff is reasonable? You think
No.
spotted owl is reasonable? You
No.
think all this stuff is reasonable?
When I,
Do you think we should have some ability to say, hey, that's nonsense?
I think what you need, I think there's channels to go
I'm
through.
very careful on people's rights to do
I
stuff to the property.
totally, I know what you're saying. You're limiting, I don't want to limit a person's ability to do what they want to do on their land. And I agree with that. I do. But I also realize that there is a great deal of intelligence in our building and planning to where if that wetland is something that needs to be protected for the reasons that they know, it should be discussed and actually looked at, because I know of quite a few people that have destroyed property and wetlands that really shouldn't have been destroyed. And there has to be a balance. If you go in, I know you're.
You know, if the state wants to take a wetland, you know what they do?
well,
They
shouldn't
take it
do-
and they say, okay, we're going to designate this area over here as a substitute for that, but we'll destroy this. A perfect example
I
is
know.
Hall Road, that
I
10
know.
acres up there that
I,
the Silver Lake backs into. They were willing to destroy that and set aside a piece someplace else.
I totally understand that, Rick. I really do. I'm just trying to say that there has to be some way of monitoring the destruction that can happen. And I'm totally against somebody going, because this has happened to me, where they align, they are so excited about doing whatever they're doing, that they have crossed into my property and ruined a part of it. And I'll tell you what, you've never seen anybody matter. Because that was
then-
my property.
I think
Apparently
we'd
this
all
gentleman,
We would all react that way.
okay,
Yeah.
but again, this gentleman apparently doesn't seem to have any respect for either boundaries, either legal or environmental. And I really think that going ahead before you get your permit I mean, we've sold land, we've built houses, we've done things like that. And we've always waited until we've gotten our permit, and okay, then we go with it. Because then you know that everything is kosher, I might say. But this gentleman just is gonna do things, whatever he wants to do. And I think that there needs to be some control, and I'm wondering what control. I mean, like he says, it's easier to be forgiven than actually getting permission. Now, that shouldn't be.
The way the balance works, and to me, I'm hearing it happen. Number one is there's lots of people with property that you and I will never know what they were out doing and crossing boundary lines and maybe even damaging protected lands. And the only way we find out about it is when somebody comes forward and says, hey, there's a problem. If that person is damaging protected lands, then we get involved in the process and get the permitting going.
And that's true.
And restrict him and tell him, hey, don't be doing this until we get through the SEPA process or whatever the process needs to be done at the time. And the other thing is if he's crossing into somebody's personal property, just like what we just talked about, if he was crossing into my personal property, I'd be out there videoing him and I'd be looking for a lawsuit. If he was taking timber off my property,
Oh,
I'd be looking for treble damages. And the courts have protected that and upheld that numerous times.
Well, I totally agree with that. And I totally agree with that. I just, it irritates me no end that somebody would have the audacity just to do what he wants to do to whatever land he thinks that he can go through and whether it be his own or the neighbors and damage things without going through at least some study to find out what, if his actions are affecting things that shouldn't be affected. And that's why we have our planning department to
Yeah.
guide us. I'm not saying it, but they need to have a little bit more like, a restraining power, like, hey, if you're gonna do this, if you're gonna go across that creek, you need to take and put a culvert through. Protect what you're destroying, at least have those kind of guidelines instead of just going in and doing it and going, oh my gosh, I ruined that little stream that had all these little fish in it. Guidelines so that, when he does do what he's doing, he does it in the right way that doesn't affect anything. And that's what they're there for. And that's why we have them. I mean, they're there to help us, not restrict us as much, but to guide us.
Are they not helping him?
I'm
That's
speaking
what I
about
just heard.
generalities. I'm talking about generalities, but apparently this gentleman that's up there, like I say, I only know what's been said today. And don't laugh, Rick.
I just, I'll stay
Okay.
away from
Maybe-
it. There's always,
Two sides.
I don't know the
Yeah.
process. Maybe Fish and Wildlife's gonna come back and find the hell out of him and make him
No.
restore the creek. I don't know.
That could happen.
Well,
But-
I just want to go back to something that you said, with regards to the intelligence in our, building and planning department. And I don't know, this is the first time I'm hearing of this, and I am not, I'm still learning about the process, that's involved with land development. But I really find it hard to believe, knowing what I know about Tracy and the people in that department, that they're just letting things go.
Okay, well, thank you.
I really find that hard to believe. I also know that they are also advocates for property owners, for private owners, and what they can and cannot do on their land.
Okay.
And they do have guidelines, but they can't be everywhere all the time. So if I personally, as a commissioner and as a citizen, would want somebody in the building and planning department to help me and work me through the process. Now, I'm not gonna go do something illegal. I know that I'm not gonna do that, but people are gonna do what they're going to do. We do have guidelines in place, and I wholeheartedly believe that our building and planning department is doing what they can to help all the citizens
Okay.
of Cowlitz County develop their property. they're not going to do something that is going to be, yeah, it's illegal, we're not going to do anything about it. If they're made aware of something, they're going to take action. And that's just been my experience on other issues with them up to this point. I
So,
don't know the full story behind what's going on with this situation, but if they're helping him get through the process and he is going and doing something behind their backs, that's a different situation. That isn't on them, that's on him. He's the one that's being irresponsible with what he's doing. Now, I understand that this gentleman is making us aware of what's going on. And if that's what's going on, I'm sure that our due diligence is going to be leveled up so that we can make sure that the implementation of what needs to be done is being done. But to blanketly say that our building and planning department is just turning a blind eye to things, I have a really hard time believing that,
Okay.
given
Well,
what I
that-
know about them.
that makes me feel a lot more confident in what's happening. I guess I'm a very protective type person. If somebody is taking advantage of another person, I'm there to champion the person that's been wrongly done, and I can see this lady, she's all by herself, looking at this gentleman that has all this huge equipment coming in and going through her property lines and just, taking advantage of her. And of course, I'm protective of
Rightfully
her
so.
because that should not be allowed. So thank you for that perspective. Thank you.
Morning, Commissioners. On a lighter note, last meeting, we had the Cowlitz County Mental Health Facility presentation. I want to first of all commend all of us. We seem to be ahead of the wave on a whole lot of discussions, not only locally but nationally, on mental health and its implications. Example, yesterday's activities across the nation. So we are at the forefront of a great opportunity. I'd like you to go ahead and kind of keep us briefed on a weekly basis of highlights of what's happening. And certainly let us know how we can help you and our county take advantage of the opportunity of moving ahead. It sounds like there's been some new national regulations or presidential edict put in place that are creating some key opportunities. We should be at the forefront of that with the presentation and the planning we've seen over the last months, and particularly a blessing from last week's meeting.
Yeah, that was an interesting meeting last week, I purposely went into that one cold without talking to them just to hear what it was. And I know they bought the property over at Charlie's, and I know they're planning that 16 bed unit. The other part of the discussion was more of a wish list of what they'd like to see. When I think about that Ron, I just bring up questions, and I'm not saying there's not a need, but their program is being developed because Washington State is supposed to close Western State and Eastern. In fact, they're being fined, and the taxpayers actually are being fined an ungodly amount of money on, I think, a monthly basis because they're still open. So this initial push is to find avenues to get those people out of there into somewhere else. And so I do question, I think in my mind, how's that? Not that it shouldn't happen, or I'm not going to stand in the way of people trying to fulfill their business model, but I'm curious how it actually helps the county. Do you know kind of where I'm seeing? Okay, we got to get them out of Western State, we got to get them out of Eastern, we're going to spread them out across the state in these facilities. How does that, I struggle a little bit with how that benefits Cowlitz. I'm not saying it won't, but it seems this initial phase is really to close Western and Eastern. That's the initial goal. And I would hope it grows beyond that and you start helping some of the locals. That's my only questions that pop in my mind when I hear it.
Sure.
Yeah.
And right off the top, a key opportunity, how it helps Cowlitz County is if private enterprise can move ahead and help us solve a problem without government having
Yeah.
to be involved, or maybe just put some guidelines together
Yeah.
or seek some of these funds, like you're supporting Perez and others
Yeah.
with letters, et cetera.
Yeah, and I'm totally on board with private enterprise. This initial blush, when I listened to them talk, they had to follow everything DHHS is telling them to do. It's like everything they're doing at Western, everything they're doing at Eastern, you got to follow these rules. If you follow these rules, we'll try and get you some money to help with that. I think me and you are on the same page. You'd like to have it more pure, that it's just private enterprise making those decisions on how to treat instead of the state telling you how to treat.
Right.
Yeah, and that's the other concern I have, is how much leeway do they have to make the program as effective as possible? Because the goal obviously is to get them functional and back into society.
I guess, I
By
was,
the report we had, Steve has also awareness and working on some connections. And so that's what we continually expect to do, is called
Yeah.
connections and opportunities. I've personally led my life of development and saying, I'd never have a crystal ball of where I'm going, but I have a view of 5 or 6 opportunities out there. And lo and behold, a blessing comes through that gives an indication of which direction to go in. And so
Yeah.
this certainly has some great possibilities, is what I'll say.
Right.
And possibilities need nurturing.
Right.
I was left with 2 serious concerns in my head about that whole situation. The first one is what is the state's plan? Do they have something written down on what their plan is to go step by step and close Eastern and Western hospitals? If they do, what is that plan? Are they just gonna take the people out of there and send them back to the counties they came from, or dispose of them how? Number 2 is, what is it gonna take to get the state to turn loose of that money that they've been fined and are being fined out of our pockets on a regular basis? What's it gonna take to get that money away from them and be proactive to help private enterprise do something with it?
Right, and a personal perspective is that if we wait on the state to tell us anything, we're already 10 years too late. Is that we need to push it a little bit and expect expectations out of the state and actually present them with, I mean, even in suits in certain cases, to release and go in a positive direction, et cetera. Because we know we're not making any progress through where we are.
Right. If they don't have a plan in place, we need to write one for them.
Right, right.
So-
And we have a running start at that.
A couple of things, Ron. There were some questions that I had after that meeting also. And I have talked with Gina, and I even emailed her what their proposal is, to see where we have duplications with services already offered within our county that they're proposing. The other thing that you mentioned that is exciting is in the big beautiful bill, the president has talked about allocating money for counties and states to open mental health and rehab facilities. There is money that has been set aside for that in an article that I was reading. And so I'm not sure to what extent they're looking at receiving money from the federal government to do that kind of thing. But either way, if that is a possibility for us to look into, that's just another avenue that opens up for us to be able to have possible funding for those types of institutions, if we want to have one of those in our county. And so I was excited, but there are still questions. And I think just due to the fact that the state doesn't know what they're doing, I agree with you. We might need to spearhead and just go in a direction and blaze a trail as to how this is done and what needs to take place. But the funding options that would be available through the federal government for those types of institutions, in the article that I was reading, there could be some money for people like them also to help get those things started.
And I think we're all in support of knowing that we need to blaze trails and see what the hurdles are, but at least leading a direction. Yeah. Thank you.
Anything else? We got Board of Health in a couple minutes at 10. Let me just check and see. I don't see any hands. I don't see any questions. Okay. We will adjourn this meeting. Board of Health will fire up here in just a couple minutes.
Had to do it sooner or later.
Yeah. Yeah, stands here.
And where's it?
Yeah, so that's, let's just block that. Exactly, yeah. No, but it's good stuff. Good food.
So he's on the side, they're on that side. There's a picture actually.
All right. Nice to see you. They're going what?
So that would be the
They do it.
She's in a motion.
Did you put seeds outside?
How much of it you're getting? How much acres?
Yeah.
Acres not done, so like 800. Is second. Just open, but.
I wanted to share it.
The thing is, it might change his mind right now.
I'm being a good boy.
Like, yeah, of productions. Yes, that's it. That would see like the Yes. Okay.
Well, I have the shoulder play. Yes, we did.
And the attorney, the best attorney in the state of Oregon.
I know you guys.
That's my fact. If I want to use property down, no one wants to, know it's this be a practice. I'm gonna do what? Bring them well, please. He's been and he's been sued before, but he settled out of court, so. Yeah,
Yeah, I gotta talk to Rick. We got 2 minutes. Well, we don't, but I'm gonna have to grasp it anyways.
Oh, you're special. It isn't the fact that it's like a PowerPoint, it's a. Okay. Okay, yeah, but I mean, also they have it up there, that's what I'm asking. So it feels like he's okay. Share and. That is nice. Yeah, it's not always this.
All of the folks.
Good morning. Welcome to the Cowlitz County Board of Health meeting. We'll start this at 10:07. Sorry, we had a little technical problem, but we've resolved that. Thank you all for coming. We appreciate your time and interest. First of all, we got some old business to review the minutes. Everybody got the minutes, and I'd entertain a motion to accept the minutes. Motion on the floor from Commissioner Rader. Yeah,
If you allow, could I make a comment on the minutes? I don't have anything to change, but I'd like to make a comment on the minutes.
please.
I was looking through this. I actually, last month, I was out of town, but I did live stream and listened to the conversation. And I wanted to offer my comments on the mission statement. There's certain things that, and maybe I'm overly cautious, that I see that give me pause. If you've listened to me at all, you know that I think the primary role of the government is to protect the rights and freedoms of the people. Well, that transfers over to the same thing to this board. I see my primary role is to protect the rights and freedoms of the people to choose their own path in this health care world. And we set a policy statement to Cowlitz County Board of Health sets policy and provides oversight. Those things raise flags with me. Anytime you put in there it sets policy, I'm wanting to know who's going to set that policy. I've seen it was somebody set a policy that you all had to wear masks. Somebody set a policy that you all had to close your business. Somebody set a policy that you all had to get a experimental shot or you wouldn't have a job. I'm very cautious when we put those words in. I'm not worried about this particular board, but I'm worried down the road that somebody thinks they have the ability to set policy and tell you how you're going to pursue medical things that you want to do, that you're going to be restricted. I'm a person that's very much individual rights. And before people rush to the microphone, that doesn't mean it doesn't come, you can't just do anything you want. That comes with the responsibilities. I would argue with you that inalienable rights that we receive from our Creator are more work than just doing what the group wants, because you actually, it comes with responsibilities. It's all laid out. The most famous 10 responsibilities for your individual rights, of course, are the 10 Commandments. You're expected to treat your neighbor in different things certain ways. So when we start talking about this group that's going to set policy, what I've seen happen, and it falls along the same lines, and I'm not trying to pick on Dr. Krager, but I heard him say that sometimes the community good overrides personal rights, and I couldn't disagree with that more. Think back to the time that happens. Who decides what community rights override the individual? It's usually a group of self-appointed elites, or we had one sitting in the governor's office that overrode your personal rights and told you what you're going to do. So I'm very cautious of these kind of things. And when it says we're going to set policy, I'm going to tell you, I'm not setting policy that's going to restrict your ability to seek medical solutions the way you want to see them. I'm going to try and give you all the information, not just limited information, not just one-sided information, but all information that gives you the ability to do that. But I'm not going to mandate that you need to go get a shot, or you can't work, or you can't come into this building without a mask, or you can't go to the grocery store, you can't go to a restaurant. It's just not going to happen. So call me overly cautious, but I don't care. I worry about that wording, and it's not something I will probably adhere to. Just my 2 cents worth.
Well, I want to follow up with that and say, you said two things there. One is I see policy is not mandates. And you also talked about mandates. And maybe policy is the wrong thing, maybe guidelines, but in my view, policies are not something that we're going to put down, here's the penalty if you don't do it. It's a guideline, but it's not a mandate like what we got from the governor.
But I've seen it. There was a policy that gave him executive powers if something happened, and he took them. And with that policy, he started issuing all kinds of mandates.
But I don't view that, that wasn't a policy, that we changed the state constitution for that to happen. That was a law.
Okay, well, I'm just telling you, I'm cautious on this kind of wording because I see where it leads.
Understand, and I agree exactly with what you're concerned about. But I don't know, can we change it to a different word that you'd be comfortable with?
Well, it's set here. I'm not trying to reopen other thing. I'm just trying to be clear that the way the lens I look through, these are caution words
Okay,
for me.
okay.
Sorry. Thank you.
Sure. No, I appreciate your comments. And it was, only thing I can say, it was a little bit better than the old one. In words, in language, but I agree. And
You had Kelly reading the RCWs and I was just throwing a fit. How is that, any of that constitutional? I don't know.
yeah, I agree. There's a lot of things that we are supposed to follow that don't seem to follow the Constitution, but they're written in a book and yeah, supposed to kind of blindly follow it, but I appreciate your leadership in not going blind into this. And
Well, we can always change it, but in this case, we just need to approve the minutes, right?
yeah, right,
Yeah.
right now.
Okay.
So
Yeah, he was kind enough to give me a little.
so, okay, so all in favor of approving the minutes from last month?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. Okay, it passed. By the way, Karen Joyner is out today. She told me earlier. So that, I have on my note there, the mental health, we did a workshop, or the last Board of Health meeting, we talked about setting up a workshop that did end up getting done, and took place 2 weeks ago, I believe. And so the Board of County Commissioners is working on that. Just wanted to kick it over to you guys officially. New business. We have a school garden project update from Ian. Ian, would you like to come and? That's fine, I think. Is he all set up? Okay, we got the presentation ready.
Yeah, it's set up, but I think you have.
There you go.
You got a green light on your mic?
So would you like to just
Now I do.
introduce yourself real quick and proceed?
Yeah, I'm Ian Thompson and I'm the operations coordinator for the nonprofit Lower Columbia School Gardens.
Thank you for coming. Just to refresh everybody's memory, last year, this board voted for some funding for them. And well, now about 6 months later here, and I've seen the garden myself. I went there, beautiful place, and a lot of people very interested, and the people that are helping out and volunteering their time. Kudos to all those people.
Yeah, and so Kelly Lane asked me to give a little 10-minute, what's been happening as I started to sort of pull some photos and dig. I realized that a lot has been happening, so I'll try my best to. I mean, I'm going to leave some stuff out, but anyways, yeah. So I just want to say we're really grateful for the funding. It has really helped us. We've had some other funding sources go away, and we're doing a lot of fundraising on our own and getting sponsors and grants and donations and stuff. But it's really helped us just get through this year at a pretty basic level. So I'll just like do something with a pen maybe. So just in case folks aren't, just a tiny bit of background. The first garden was started at North Lake Elementary 22 years ago, 23. And that was up front, the little place in the top left corner, that was the garden. And then in about '09, the group of volunteers there started expanding back and planted that orchard out in that big field. And that's more, that's still probably 5 years ago. So that's expanded to an acre. And then from there, it's, now in all 20 elementary, middle schools in Longview and Kelso school districts. Wow. That's out in that orchard now. So kids have just been doing things with normal garden, just sort of what the garden is asking for. That's a lot of what kids are learning is, what season is it? Where are we? Which is different than what's available in the grocery stores, what's actually growing. We have kids show up and like, where are the berries? Where's the fruit? And it's March and we're like, well, fruit takes heat to grow. And so what you're going to find around here is just green stuff. We've got greens and asparagus and, maybe some roots, radishes and stuff like that. But anyway, so kids are helping prune grapes. We've got 200 grapevines total over all the gardens. And so that's a big job. And it's less technical than fruit trees. So a little harder for them to mess it up. And so we can just kind of give them the basics and they can just go for it. And that's a skill they can learn on their own. And then of course we're planting. So we started 15,000 baby plants, from seed, and then those are dispersed out to all the gardens. So kids are getting lots of experience planting those in the ground. That's kids putting in a perennial asparagus bed at one of the schools, which is very much delayed gratification. You have to let it grow for 3 years before you can harvest it. So these middle schoolers know that, they can come back as high schoolers, but this is really something they're doing for the kids coming behind them. And I think planting tomatoes. And so we do have staff, but also a lot of volunteers. And so we had a lot of these volunteer work parties where we're taking those baby plants and putting them in bigger pots. A lot of it is potting up, tomatoes into 1-gallon pots. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. And so that's one, that thing is filled with tomatoes. And then we've got more space that we borrow from Three Rivers Christian. And we've had 102 new volunteers this year, and 1,230 volunteer hours so far. Next slide. And then just a couple of events. This is a teacher training, so we partner with ESD 112. So teachers actually got a paid sub for the day so they could attend, and they got clock hours, and they got STEM clock hours, which I think as a teacher are harder to come by, STEM training opportunities. So these are teachers that sort of learning how to, just being more comfortable working with their classes in the gardens, and then learning how do they tie it to curriculum and standards that they're already teaching, which is really one of our big pieces of work, because we're a small crew. And if schools wait for us to come around for the kids to come out, that's just not enough. It's not enough. And teachers have, they can just walk out their door and they can, go visit it every week and measure plants, measure growth and do all kinds of stuff that we can't do because we're spread so thin. So anyways, we did this training. Actually, this is the second year we've done this training. Next slide. The weather was miserable, but they were troopers. Next slide. Next slide. Epic the Prevention Coalition, I think that's also a partnership with the SD 112, does a youth prevention and leadership summit. That's like sixth graders from, they're identified by school counselors as kids that might be at risk, but also can we take these kids, not just like help them not end up in a bad spot, but I think we can take these kids and put them into a leadership role. So these are kids from Tootle, Castle Rock, all the schools and hundreds of kids. And so this is the fourth year, I think, that we've done a session on native plants, connecting to land, that they made smoothies out of stinging nettles, which is a native plant that's really good for you that you won't see in the grocery store. Anyways, kids get a lot out of
think
it.
2 out of the 3 were okay with it.
Yeah, the one in the back has some regret, but
Yeah.
kids on the whole loved it. Yeah.
Quick question for you. You said you've been doing for 4 years,
Yeah.
and the schools or the teachers or the counselors or whatever are trying to identify kids that they feel are kind of at risk to help in here.
Yes.
Have you seen ones that started at 4 years ago? Have they
don't-
seen?
It's a fresh batch every year. So it's just sixth graders.
Yeah, but
Oh, no, what do you-
when they were seventh, eighth, and ninth, do
We
they
haven't
report any
really-
change?
We haven't followed up with those kids.
I'd be curious what the
I'm
schools
curious.
state.
Also, yeah.
Okay.
And we recognize a handful, from our school gardens and stuff in every group, but
Right.
yeah, so it's like a whole day thing that they do with a motivational speaker, and then there's breakouts, like being at a conference as an adult. You go to, you choose different sessions you want to go to, and so we're one of those sessions. Health, saying no to drugs, peer pressure, just all kinds of, eating.
Okay. All right.
It's a whole big thing. They do a good job. Next slide.
Ian, just
Yeah.
curious, how do you prepare stinging nettle so that it's consumable?
You don't have to do much. You can, you can cook it for a minute, but even just physically, if you put a glove on and just smashed it up, it's fine. They break off. So we just put it right in a blender and it's good to go.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
We also did a Earth Day celebration. So City of Longview did not host that for the first time in decades. Citywide, because they've lost some capacity. So we hosted a Earth Day in the Garden at North Lake with, some other partners doing hands-on stuff for kids. Next slide. We had a butterfly scientist come and talk about butterflies. Next slide. And at all of our community events, we try to include food. Just as sort of a healthy cooking demo, and also just it's a good way to get people to show up and engage. So we were doing focaccia bread with asparagus and herbs from the garden and garlic.
And a rhubarb pizza.
That's at the next event. Yeah, yeah. But this was an Earth Day. Next slide. And this is the plant sale that Kelly Lane came to and his wife. Thank you so much. So yeah, we don't have a number, but thousands of people come to this event, and it's a sale, but it's also, we have live music and kids are making garden pizzas. Next slide. And kids get experience, customer service, that sort of thing. Next slide. And yeah, we do a rhubarb sauce because in May, there's not a lot in season. We're not going to put tomatoes on it. So yeah, they're pretty good. Next
Where's the
slide.
meat in that picture, Ian?
What's that?
Where's the meat? in that
Exactly.
picture?
What we tell the kids is we forgot to plant any pepperoni, so it's all right. I mean, we do buy cheese, but yeah. Let's see, next slide. And then, so after the plant sale, we have a lot of plants left over that we plant in all the gardens, but also part of our mission is, helping the community grow stuff at home. So we're giving away like close to 2,000 plants. And some of those are like big, beautiful 1-gallon tomatoes. That trailer was full of 160 tomatoes, and we had a bunch of smaller plants. So anyway, this is International Festival at LCC. And something we do every year is give away plants and seeds. Next slide. Yeah, a bunch of smaller stuff as well. Next slide. Next slide. And making pizzas as well. Next slide. And there's more plants. So on our weekly garden days, we'll have them out in front, and then we'll also just put them around town at our farm stands and stuff. But and also people can call us, and we, help different groups. We gave plants to YMCA and City of Longview's little garden and Kalama School Garden and other groups. Next slide. And this is Ethnic Support Council, and we did a container garden clinic sort of thing where if you don't have a yard, if you're in an apartment or something. So they got to plant a tomato in the middle. Next slide. And then like basil and cilantro and hot peppers around the outside and take that home. A lot of families showed up for that. And that was great. Next slide. And now we're into summer. And so next slide. Yeah, right there. So right now, where are we? Tuesday. So Barnes, CVG, and St. Helens are open right now. And summer's a great time because volunteers or visitors don't have to do background checks through the school district. They can just show up. So this is just open to the public, your neighborhood garden. Anyone can show up and, help with garden tasks and, take home some food, that sort of thing. So that's been great. And we've got some in the evenings. So that's what's going on right now. Next slide.
So you just post that publicly and
Yeah.
and the public can show up at whatever school you're at. And
Yeah.
help.
Exactly. So we've tried to get it out a lot of different ways. Daily news and the library and some different, what's the maternal child network? Is that a health department thing or what is that? Maternal child health? Oh, okay.
So the free plants, can people just walk up and get those any day of the week? Or is
Those
it-
free plants?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, until they're gone. We usually set them out and then they're gone. So they're normally not sitting out for days and days.
Okay.
And a lot of times we'll announce those events as well, social media or that sort of thing. Yeah, so this is Cowlitz. There's some alumni students that are back for the summer harvesting garlic a couple weeks ago. Next slide. There's this little guy shows up. He's got pruners on his belt. He's got his tools every time. That's at Catlin. Harvesting food to take home. Next slide. This neighborhood, I've heard it called like Heroin Alley, or I don't know if that's very common, but it's like under the bridge, right by Catlin Elementary on the Longview or on the West Kelso side of the bridge of the older bridge, right? Yeah. Anyways, a kind of a rough little patch of neighborhood, but the street opens up right into this campus and Catlin Garden. And this guy's been coming since he was like a little kid, and he's high school now and doing LCC running start and doing environmental science. And but he came and this just a couple weeks ago, and he dug up some tomatillos and ground cherries to go back and plant in his yard. He's a good gardener and a chef. He's always talking about stuff he's cooking.
Those are pretty good bunches of grapes in there.
What's that?
Those are good bunches of grapes. in
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, you can see the grapes over his head. Yeah. Grapes have been one that someone else had planted. Actually, some of you may have known Pat Cuban, a local person, but he was at North Lake and he and his wife planted grapes. And so when I came around, I realized that we don't have to water them. We don't have to hardly do anything. And September rolls around and there's enough for every kid in the school, 400 kids, to eat some grapes. And we worked way harder on the lettuce and the carrots. And then these grapes are just kind of doing it for free. So we put lots of grapevines and we try to put them on the fences sort of to share with whoever's on the outside of the fence as well. And they get the right varieties and they're just amazing. They don't get sick. A lot of food. So yeah. Next slide. We have a couple teen high school interns this summer through, again, I think that's ESD 112. So that's one of them. Trying to find, we had a contest, try to find the longest route, which is a good motivator for kids. Next slide. And then part of what we're doing, especially other times of the year, but especially in the summer, is giving away, collecting the harvest and whatever doesn't get eaten by the people who are, showing up to the garden. We're putting it out on farm stands. This is the one at St. Helens Elementary, and there's one at Wallace in South Kelso. We do a pop-up table at Barnes in North Kelso, and then the Highlands Neighborhood Center and North Lake Elementary, and we have a kind of a rotating schedule of filling these up. Next slide. Next slide. Oh, and we just, trying to figure out ways to support the program. We're offering a sponsorship for these. So we got our first farm stand sponsor. Next slide. Some businesses like Fiber Credit Union sponsor a garden and get a sign like that, but also they are sending their staff every week to the open garden Tuesday morning, to help in the garden. So ideally there's like both things, they're giving some money, but also helping out. We just had United Healthcare that I didn't even know that they were in Longview. They just brought 20 people to a day of service. Windermere does a day of service. So we're trying to, get helped out that way. Next slide. This is a bench, another thing that people can sponsor. Next slide. It's a kit that like volunteers will cut the pieces, sand the edges, oil the pieces, and then kids assemble the bench, and then, somebody sponsors it and they can choose what garden they want it in. Next slide. I think that is one more slide. And that's what I have today. I guess a couple of things that weren't in there. One, we did Longview School District asked us to help with their summer school program. So we just got done with that. Yeah, I guess that's it. So thank you very much.
Thank you for the update, Ian.
Yeah.
I like the pictures. To point out, I pointed it out last time, I didn't see one cell phone in there. That's really good, I think, for kids to be able to be without a cell phone and to do something. And one thing you mentioned is that it does seem like you do have alumni come back.
Yeah.
Since this came under the Board of Health group, I'm just wondering if it would be something that you would be interested to kind of follow up on them and ask them, hey, how did that, as they get older, because like you said, some people, that's only one grade, you said sixth grade?
That's just for that one day youth summit.
Okay, but do you track some of your people? They come back every year?
We not sort of. I mean, we do some tracking, and a lot of it's just relationships, so different ones of our staff that have worked with those kids, have a relationship with them now. And so, but yeah, we've got kids who are, one of them's working for Chamber of Commerce now. Anyway, yeah, we have
It'd be interesting to see how they're, if it's had a good impact on their lives, and I'd imagine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the ones that come back, I'd imagine they.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And we see a lot of, high schoolers, you need to have community service hours to graduate, and they realize, oh, I can go back and, volunteer in my school garden that I was in elementary or middle school. And so a lot of high schoolers do that. And
Does anybody
yeah.
else have any questions or comments?
Are there schools in our county that we do not have gardens in?
I don't even have in the county, I'm not actually sure. I'd have to see a list. I know we've been supporting Kalama. They're just getting going. Castle Rock has been doing a great job for a long time. We've met with Tootle a number of times, and I think they're still trying to figure out how to get started. Woodland's got some stuff. Who else? Who am I missing? Anyways, I think there's probably some that don't have it. We're doing it at, I think, a different level than a lot of places because we have the nonprofit helping it to happen. And we named our organization Lower Columbia School Gardens because when we first started, we were just helping to build gardens. And we, built one in Cathlamet and up in Cougar at Yale Elementary. And we're just like, this is easy. And then we realized, oh, that is the easy part. The hard part is, 5 years later, 10 years later, is there a garden? Is it getting used? Are there volunteers? All that. So we narrowed our scope from Lower Columbia to just Longview Kelso, but we still have the role of supporting other communities. Schools want to start, they come talk to us and we support them as best we can. But yeah.
Well, thank you again. Thank you very much. Looks like you're doing good work, and I wish your garden will grow big.
Thank you. Appreciate the help a lot.
Any other comments from the board or anything, or, there's not a lot? I'd like to open up to public comments if anybody has any public comments. This is, one of our light meetings, so. Going once? And twice? Okay. Well, thank you very much. We'll adjourn this meeting at 10:39. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay, we're moving Public Works up from tomorrow to today, because two of us will be out tomorrow, so
Awesome.
we'll just turn it over to you guys.
Thank you. We didn't bring an agenda today. We only had two items. Mike Moss, Public Services Director, Sean Rowe with me here, Finance Manager for Public Works, handed you guys out a RFP for the shooting range concessionaire, which is going to be hopefully on next Tuesday's morning agenda unless we have some issues today. I'll give you a quick history of the gun range and kind of go over some high points of the RFP. The lease that we currently have with Game and Anglers started in 2008, and the range opened in 2013. Took them about 5 years to construct it. Then their current lease ends December 31st, 2025. So they have a few more months on their current lease. They've been a 17-year partner with Cowlitz County. Just so you have an idea how many people go out there, last year's full year attendance, they had a little over 6,100 people use the gun range. We do receive some of the fees that for daily shooting fees. The county received $27,000 last year, which is not tons, because we spent $68,000 in everything from utilities, repairing fences, septics, clean out, fixing the well, general maintenance, a lot of rockets delivered out there, electrical, what else, trash pickup. So we spent, the general fund spent about $40,000, not including capital projects, to keep the gun range open.
Didn't we do something with the debt too?
Yeah.
Did we forgive that, or we did something? I mean, that's something we,
Yeah, I think the debt was maybe understood differently between the parties, but that was forgiven, I believe, back in 2019 when we redid the lease structure for this most current lease.
okay.
And I believe it was in the 250 range.
Yeah, I think it was about 245.
Yeah.
So there is no debt on the property?
There's none currently. no.
Okay.
So what are the user fees? So if you go out there and shoot now, it's $15 for adults for the day. Kids 12 and under shoot for free, and that's for the 300-yard range. If you want to shoot trap, it's $9 plus $5 for every 25 pigeons. So we get a certain amount of that 15 and a certain amount of the 9 to help cover the cost. But like I said, the last year was, our share of those fees was $27,000.
Is it the sheriff's range, is that separate from all this other stuff?
Correct, yeah, that's a completely separate, this RFP's for everything other than the 100-yard range the sheriff uses.
sheriff
It's separate. We also spent some money through RCO. As you guys know, we just finished the restrooms out there. That was a $150,000 project. And a few years before that, we finished 2 new trap houses for shooting clay pigeons. And that was a $240,000 project completed in 2024. And those are half funded by the RCO grant. The other half is county dollars. So spent quite a bit of money out there in capital. Plus part of that was guardrail, paving the parking lot, striping parking lot, painted the main building there. So we spent a lot of time and effort the last 3 or 4 years at that facility. So, but with their concessionaire agreement or lease agreement ending end of this year, we're going to go out to RFP. It's the process. If we go out tomorrow, we're hoping to close it. It'd be closing September 18th. We'd then score what we receive. Hopefully have a contract in early October, and the new concessionaire or the concessionaire that's in place, whoever would be the winner, would start January 1st of next year. Scoring the proposals, we put not a lot of it on financial benefit to the county. We mainly did it on experience, 40 points on experience, 40 points on a business plan, 10 points on references, and 10 points on financial benefit to the county. The main reason we dropped the financial benefit down is because we in this RFP, we turned a lot of the stuff we're paying for now, and I mentioned the thousands of dollars that we spend, a lot of we wrote that into the concessionaire's side of the agreement. So they'll be in charge of the, electrical, septic, well,
Oh.
that kind of stuff. So we turn a lot of those over there. So there's not going to be a big benefit coming back to the county, but we're also not going to be paying that much out in expenses from the general fund.
Mhm.
So we're hoping to someone comes in with some experience running these, and a really good business plan to how to move it forward, to get more users at that location.
I think
Customer service, hours.
Even we'd probably be happy.
That's exactly what we thought. Yep. Break even's better than, shelling out 68,000. We know there's going to be some expenses coming out of maintenance or road funds just for things we need to do out there that won't be able to be done by a concessionaire, but we're hoping they're going to cover a lot of this 68,000 we spend out there. And our hope is that, one of the members of the board would like to be on that scoring committee, when we get these, hopefully, proposals back in. The length of the contract would be 3 years to start with up to 2 more additional years. So it'd be up to a 5-year contract with the concessionaire. So, yeah, so if you guys, I know most of this in this RFP is the same language as most of our other RFPs, but the big gist of it is like I said, the length of time, the financial benefit to the county, and how we're scoring it. So I know there have been some interested parties in the past, and one of them did reach out recently to ask if we're going out for proposals. So we're hoping to get at least 2 or 3 in, if not more. It'd be nice to have a few on the table to score.
I'm assuming legal
Yeah.
is okay with.
Yeah, we were hoping to have this out a little bit ago, but it's been in different people's hands along the way, including the hearing examiner's hands.
Oh,
Because they had to look at the
examiner too.
SUP. So it's gone through a lot of different hands, and because I think I promised you guys a few months back that you'd see it sooner than this, so I apologize. It still gives us time, though, to get it out, and if we are making a change with the concessionaire out there, it'll still give us a few months to make that change over.
Okay.
Open to questions, and we can ask, and I'm gonna even ask, if you want to look at it more and ask more questions on Monday, when we usually have an agenda item review, and of course on Tuesday, but it'll be on the agenda on Tuesday, if you're happy with that.
Have anything else at this time? I don't.
Okay.
I'm curious how many people might,
Me too.
Respond to it.
yeah, respond. I mean, I'm a
Yeah.
little curious to see what happens there.
Item number 2 is River Suites. We've discussed a permanent home for the Office of Public Defense for a while with you guys, initially thinking about going to the annex till another floor came for sale over at River Suites. River Suites is located at 1801 First Avenue in Longview. It's closely located, of course, at Juvenile Jail, Hall of Justice. A couple of you walked through it with us with facilities. I think all 3 of you have already visited that location. We have been negotiating with the owners of the 2 floors at that spot. There's actually 4 floors total there, but we're looking at purchasing 2. The first floor is about 4,100 square feet with 14 offices, and the 3rd floor is 3,900 square feet with 11 offices. Does have, of course, elevator service to the 3rd floor. We have agreed on pricing, which I'll tell you here shortly, and we put some earnest money down. Next step is get board agreement to move forward. We negotiated the 3rd floor. There's 2 different A and B on that 3rd floor, and we negotiated $217,000 for each side, which is $434,000. And the first floor, $455,000. So it's a total of $889,000 for both floors. We just need final approval from the board to move forward on direction of who be sign the closing documents. We want to move forward. All our sales agreements, it does say it needs final approval from the board. So whatever I've signed so far in earnest money means nothing to you guys. Give the green light to move forward on this project. If we do move forward, you just got to decide if maybe the director signs for it, or if you want the chairman to sign the final documents over at the title company. The hope is to be able to close these properties by the mid to late August. So hopefully in the next 2 or 3 weeks, we get all the documents done. We did do an inspection of that facility again after we did the walkthroughs. Pictures of the rooftop. I got numbers of how much money they have in reserves from the HOA or HOAs, how much money they spend, how much money they receive. And if you don't mind, I can pass those out to you right now. So here's pictures. Let's back up some. The only 2 pictures I have there, I should have took more, but you guys have toured it. We did go in the rooftop soon after we visited as a group, and you guys could see it's actually in really good shape. It's just been serviced again, repainted. Weather Guard in town is the service provider for their rooftop. So that was one concern. I know there's some items when we look at the building of the, not the facade, but the eaves. We saw some spots of rot up there. So we've been working on that once the purchase is done. The sheet with the numbers on it shows how much money they currently have in bank and reserves. They have about $81,000 for their capital projects, which will certainly be, we'll have a big voice in, since we'll, if we do buy these 2 floors, we'll be half owners of that facility and be really involved with the HOA. Page 2 of that just shows their current expenses for 2025. It shows $72,000 in expenses, but $76,000 in revenue. So right now they're currently just maintaining what they bring in, but $11,000 of that total expenses is money that they're putting towards long-term project reserves. So this $81,000 grows each year by $11,000. They are putting money away for long-term expenses. So Sean and I will be dedicated to work with the HOA, work with the HOA president now, I believe, is the owner of the 4th floor. And so we'll work with him to start working out some of the issues we saw in that facility, parking lot, landscape, eaves, some lights that were burnt out, things like that. But it's at least that we know they have money in the reserves to help start going after some of these repairs at that facility. The funding from this project, or this 889,000 plus, I think Sean has been working with OFM and Kathy. I think that's why Kathy's in the room today, to make sure that we know we have the funding to purchase this facility. I don't know if you want to add to that at all.
I think Mike touched all the high spots on there, and just looking for any questions from the board on this or direction.
How much remodeling's got to be done for our purposes after we get a hold of this?
We have told OPD limited. I know they want to remove some sinks in some of the rooms. We haven't set a budget yet, but it's going to be, they know it's going to be limited. We know it's limited. There's enough office space for what they need right now, is because you had the 1st floor and the 2nd floor together. We don't need to make new office space like we were doing over here. But we can certainly come back to you guys with a budget, maybe set a budget and set a limit of what we want to utilize or spend there. I'm hoping it'd be in the $25,000, $30,000 range of some minor stuff that they need to get into that 3rd floor, but nothing more than that.
For any of the larger, we would anticipate that they go through the CTIP process and request that through the budget.
We asked if they could do another walkthrough. The 3rd floor is now vacant, actually, as of the 31st, it's vacant. And so we can do a walkthrough at any point on August 1. I asked OPD to go back through there again with us to look at the sinks, because they asked about a lot of the sinks to get removed, some of the cabinetry. Our last walkthrough, it kind of makes sense to keep a lot of that in place. It's built into the walls, and some of these offices are big enough, they're going to bring cabinetry in anyway, or file cabinets or cupboards, and it's already made for that. And I think a lot of offices, they may want their own sink to pour their Keurig in, coffee in, lunch, whatever. So it's going to take quite a bit of work to pull those out, because you're going to have a lot of sheetrock damage behind there. The carpet probably only goes up to the cabinets, where you're going to have to try to match that cabinet up, base, paint. So it's not going to be an easy task. There might be a few offices that may need those removed, but for the most part, I asked if we could keep those in for long term. I know it's a change of what we talked about, earlier in the year of going next door to the annex. We were going to spend about, I think the budget that Sean and Savannah worked up, this actually might be a little bit cheaper than moving in next door. Still have had to look for an opportunity to lease out the annex to somebody, if not a county department, maybe outside.
Plus the roughly 9,000 a month stops.
It does, yeah. And I think in the long term, I mean, the great location of that facility, at a certain point, maybe floors 2 and 4 will come for sale. And if you're buying floors for 400,000, 500,000 each, there's no way you're gonna build a 4-story building in that location for $2 million, which is what you'd have into it when you buy all 4 floors.
Yeah.
And be that close to everything. And as much as our judicial campuses are growing, it seems like from the mandates from Olympia, we're going to need extra spaces for lawyers down the road and attorneys.
So you just need us to tell you to keep going?
Yes, keep going if that's the direction of the board, and who'd like to sign those final documents at the title company.
You said that's 4 floors? I was thinking it was only 3, but
There's 4 there. Yeah. So we have owners of that facility at that point.
okay. Yeah, I got no problems, just say keep going.
We okay, or just to make it convenient, we okay with Mike signing that stuff?
Yeah, I'm good with it.
Great. Thank you.
Mhm.
And those are our 2 items we have. If you have miscellaneous items, we're available.
I think we're good.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Appreciate it.
Mike.
Thanks, guys.
I've been doing a lot of plays for the rock out at the range.
Okay. We'll adjourn, Kelly.
I thought we already did yours.
Just want to make sure.